President Biden to address Americans after Trump storms back as Harris promises peaceful transfer in defiant speech. Gunmen kill 3 injured, 2 in Plateau attack. National grid records another collapse 2 days after. Tricycle riders attack traffic officers in Ibadan. Hello and welcome to Trust TV's news update. I am Chiamaka Nwafo. Thank you for joining us. Now, former President Barack Obama on Wednesday congratulated Donald Trump on his election victory, noting the importance of a peaceful transfer of power. Obama's comments stand in stark contrast with Trump's unprecedented refusal 4 years ago to concede defeat to Joe Biden, culminating with the violent attack by his supporters in the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. More of the story in this bulletin. Back here in Nigeria, 3 youths were murdered by attackers in Rakok village in Barikin-Ladi local government area of Plateau State on Wednesday. In a statement issued by the Birom Youth Molders Association and signed by its national president, Deliop Mwantiri, the victims were gruesomely murdered in the course of carrying out their businesses in the community when the assailants attacked. The association condemned the attack, which has been recurring in the area, with a call on security agencies to address the breach and destruction of farm produce. The association is appealing for investigation and subsequent arrest of the perpetrators of the killers and compensation for massive crop destruction and harvest, as well as motorcycles stolen recently within the general area, as well as medical support to the injured. The police and Joint Security Task Force Operation Safe Haven are yet to issue any statement or response to the recent attack. Two officers of the Oyo State Road Traffic Management Authority, Oyedepo Samuel and Wahid Kodri, were reportedly assaulted by tricycle riders and hoodlums in Ibadan while performing their duties. According to the state's Commissioner for Information and Orientation, Dotun Oyelade, the officers sustained severe injuries after they were attacked with iron rods, stones and sticks at the Water Corporation gate in Ibadan. Oyelade noted that the incident occurred as the officers attempted to impound a commercial tricycle that was obstructing traffic after it was wrongly parked on the road. He noted that while transporting the seized tricycle to the Agodi Gate Command Unit, they were ambushed by a group of irate tricycle riders and hoodlums. He added that a good Samaritan intervened and rescued the officers from the mob. The authorities' chairman, Major Adekoya Adeshagba, retired, condemned the attack, noting that 7 suspects had been apprehended in connection with the assault and subsequently arraigned at Magistrate District Court 1, Ibadan Northeast, on charges of assault. The Senate Committee on Marine Transport has announced the indefinite postponement of a scheduled public hearing on the Nigerian Coast Guard bill, originally set for November 7. The session was slated to take place at the National Assembly Library and Resource Center, with key stakeholders in attendance to address pressing issues in Nigeria's maritime sector. The bill, sponsored by Senator Wasiu Eshilokon, APC Lagos, has the overriding intent to enact legislation that sought to contribute to the country's security, with a special focus on the country's maritime interests and regional coastal security. He said that it was also to ensure adherence to global norms and standards as they relate to maritime security. However, a statement issued by the committee clerk, Dauda Booker, on Thursday cited the recent passing of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagwaja, as the primary reason for the delay. Lagwaja died on Tuesday night at the age of 56. This marks the second postponement of the hearing, which was previously scheduled for Wednesday, November 5. Though no new date has been set for the public hearing, the Senate committee has assured stakeholders that discussions on the bill remain a priority. The committee said new dates will be announced in due course, attributing the postponement to a state of mourning over the demise of the Chief of Army Staff. 2 days after Nigeria's power grid collapse, another disturbance has been recorded, forcing all power generation plants to go offline. A check on Independent System Operator (ISO), an autonomous arm of the Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN), showed that all power plants connected to the grid didn't produce any electricity around 12 p.m. The ISO's website showed that generation plants produced an average of 2,323 megawatts of electricity around 11 a.m. but read 0.00 megawatts at 12 p.m. Although TCN is yet to state the reason for the collapse, this will be the 10th grid collapse in 2024. Confirming the collapse in a message, the Justice Co stated that the current outage being experienced within its franchise is a result of loss of power supply from the national grid. The House of Representatives Committee on Renewable Energy has lamented the incessant power grid collapse in the country. The chairman of the committee, Victor Ogene, who expressed worry over the latest incident, noted that when calls are made to heads of MDAs, that is the ministries, departments and agencies, for appearance, it is imperative that these heads of departments appear before the committee so that some of these challenges currently faced by the country are addressed. Ogene noted that due to the death of the Chief of Army Staff, the nation is in a mourning mood, hence the need to hold an abridged hearing. One of the stakeholders was the National President, Association for Public Policy Analysis, Prince Will Okori, called the attention of the committee to the need to ensure an investigation is carried out to ascertain how monies are being utilized in renewable energy. Earlier in his remarks, the committee chairman said the investigative hearing is aimed at ascertaining the amounts of funds invested into the renewable energy sector.
We need to ask, is there a safety component? Is there a standardization in terms of the safety, the renewable energy products that come in here? For instance, there was a time members of the House of Reps used to make street lights, solar street light, part of constituency project. How many of them are working today? I will request that this committee carry out audits of functionality of these solar street lights that have been installed in Nigeria within the context of promoting renewable energy.
Everything that we do as a people, as a country, as humans, revolve around the whole issue of power. Only yesterday we suffered another grid collapse. And I am sure that the ordinary man, the ordinary woman on the streets will be wondering, how come we are having this frequent grid collapse? We seated in this hall might be aware of the technical issues involved. But the world too will be wondering, what are we doing with our renewable energy sources that would have to be dealing with issues of grid collapse? If we had built this sector from when emphasis began, I'm not sure that at this time grid collapse would be something newsworthy.
Now, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmood Yakubu, is hosting a stakeholders meeting in Akure, the Ondo state capital. The meeting comes just 9 days before voters are due at the polls to elect a governor. It also comes a day after the chairman visited polling units at Akure, Idanre and Ileoluji and Okebo local governments for a mock accreditation exercise to assess the readiness of the commission for the election. The meeting is being attended by candidates, heads of security agencies, INEC officials, civil society, transportation unions and traditional rulers, including the DG of Akure, Alade Toyinbo, Kunlade Alade Lucy. The governor, Sani Uba, has gifted 100,000 naira and smartphones to the released #EndBadGovernance protesters. The governor promised to also rehabilitate the 39 released protesters from Kaduna and empower them if they turn a new leaf. The secretary to the Kaduna state government, Abdul Qadri Mere, who spoke on behalf of Governor Sani, the closed that the governor had directed him to collect the credentials of those who have completed the tertiary education. The SSG also noted that the Kaduna state government will be tracking the activities and conduct of all 39 released #EndBadGovernance protesters to ensure they are of good behavior before the promised benefits are extended to them. According to him, the released protesters were all medically examined and given psychosocial counseling on the need to change for the better in order to be useful to themselves and society at large. The Adamawa State Governor Ahmadu Fintiri has inspected the ongoing construction of hostel blocks at the Nigerian Law School Yola, awarded by his administration as part of the state's contribution to the institution. The governor expressed satisfaction with the quality of lawyers produced by the Nigerian Law School, rating them as the best in the sub-Saharan region. Fintiri explained that the project is a fulfillment of the promise made by his administration to expand the school infrastructure, particularly accommodations for the students. He expressed satisfaction with the quality of work so far and commended the leadership of the school for maintaining tangible standards.
We've come to see so that we see the progress of work, and I've seen it, so we're not just paying contractors that are not on site, that are not doing their job. And I can see the contractors keeping to the standard and also the time limit, and they will be able to deliver within the period that we give them to complete the job. One of the best lawyers today in the sub-Saharan Africa is from Nigeria. Hitherto before now, we're the ones supplying most of these countries with their judicial officers, and that is because we have a standard law school that is impacting that standard and knowledge into the students for us to be able to produce the excellent graduates. And I think they're still maintaining that standard. We will continue to support them. We will continue to play our own part as government that is responsible, so that they also continue to discharge their own responsibility.
The House of Representatives Committee on Urban Development has expressed concern over the ownership of Infrastructure Bank PLC, which is responsible for providing financial solutions to support key long-term infrastructure projects. The committee stated this during an oversight visit to the bank. Here's the report. According to the chairman of the committee, Awaji Inombenk Abiante, the bank, which was formerly known as Urban Development Bank of Nigeria PLC, was established in 1992 under Decree No. 51 of the 1992 under the retired General Ibrahim Babangida's administration, and had no legislation authorizing the change of name or adjustment in the ownership structure of the bank. He observed that the operations of the bank was a decision of the Federal Executive Council, FEC, which is not a law-making body. He argued that the bank has a unique ownership structure, majority owned by the private sector, but also has the federal, state and local government as well as the Nigerian Labour Congress as shareholders. He said for government to have set up a financial institution, it's its responsibility to help achieve a better urban center, adding that no law has backed that action.
For government to have set up a financial institution with the responsibility to help us achieve a better urban center, they had a vision, they had a purpose. The federal government had 20%, local government had 40%, the Nigerian Labour Congress had 10%, and the others were supposed to be for the private sector. Who are the special purpose vehicles that changed or altered that structure? No law has backed that up to date.
The committee requested details on how the bank was transformed, projects embarked on and funded by the bank, donor agencies that were into partnership with the bank, and details of utilization of fund, amongst others. Earlier, the acting managing director of the TIB, Nkiru Chime, in her address, noted the crucial role the committee plays in creating policies for urban management, in addressing environmental degradation, and overseeing agencies responsible for urban development, which, according to her, are central to fostering a sustainable and thriving Nigeria.
We are aware of the crucial role your committee plays in creating national policies for urban management, addressing environmental degradation, overseeing agencies responsible for urban development, and promoting vital urban renewal. and slum upgrading initiatives, which are central to fostering a sustainable and thriving Nigeria.
The Infrastructure Bank PLC is dedicated to providing financial solutions to support key long-term infrastructure projects, including transportation infrastructure, municipal common services, mass housing and district development, solid waste management and water provision, and power and renewable energy projects. The bank is a government-sponsored but private sector-led development finance institution. Over in Kano State, Governor Abba Yusuf on Thursday urged the Nigerian Medical Association to suspend its strike action, warning that it could endanger the lives of over 20 million Kano residents who depend on their services. The governor assured the NMA that the report from the investigative panel probing the alleged assault of a female doctor at the State Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs and the Murtala Muhammad Specialist Hospital is on his desk and awaiting immediate action. The NMA had issued a 48-hour ultimatum to the state government to dismiss the commissioner, threatening to go on strike if the demand was not met. Addressing the issue during a joint live broadcast with select radio journalists, Yusuf expressed disappointment over the NMA's decision to strike over what he described as a dispute between two adults, urging the association to allow due process to take its course. Yusuf explained that upon hearing of the incident, he promptly set up a committee to investigate, submit a report within 48 hours. Apologizing on behalf of the governor appealed to the striking doctors to consider the impact on vulnerable patients, including pregnant women awaiting delivery, and call off the strike in the interest of public health. Still in Kano State, residents and fish sellers in the state have raised concerns following the poor power supply, which has severely affected their businesses. At the popular frozen fish market in the city, many traders have been forced to shut down operations, while others struggle to stay afloat using alternative sources of power. Here's more in this report.
Here at one of Kano's busiest frozen fish markets, situated at a place called Bayan Dogombanki, an estimated 150 vendors operate cold rooms, with 70 other businesses using freezers, while about 150 smaller dealers use a mini ice box on their tables. Activities at the market are now quieter than usual, as some fish sellers have been forced to close their shops due to the lack of electricity, among other challenges. I can tell you that thousands depend on our business here. Many have suffered significant losses due to problems with both storage and supply. Our main problems are electricity, fluctuating prices, and even transportation. Because in the past, when fish supplies left places like Lagos and Port Harcourt, they would arrive here in 24 hours. But now, because of the bad roads and the high fuel cost, vehicles sometimes spend more than 10 days on the road. One of the few remaining sellers still operating, Khalid Saleh, is making do with a generator to keep his fish products fresh.
We need
at least 15 hours of steady power supply to operate the cold rooms effectively. But even before the recent blackout, which lasted like 12 to 13 days, we were only getting about 30 minutes to 1 hour of electricity most days. I've been using generator to keep my stock from spoiling, but it's not sustainable. But for others who operate on a smaller scale and rely on ice to keep their fish fresh, the recent blackout has driven up the cost of ice considerably, which makes them resort to selling the fish at giveaway prices in order not to lose their entire stock.
We are facing a lot of challenges because of the issue of electricity.
For us retailers, the cost of ice is also very high. Normally, after 2 days, we have to sell it at a loss to those who either fry the fish or they use other methods to preserve it. Among the variety of fish here are Titus, mackerel, commonly known as cumbia, and other varieties. The price of a carton that costs about 50,000 naira has hit above 60,000 naira. We come here to buy fish, but the prices are very high. There is no steady electricity and we cannot rely on ice to store the fish. We urge the government to do what it can to help solve this problem for us. For now, the market remains a shadow of its former self, as traders are appealing to government for an improvement in power supply and a return to more stable conditions. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News.
In business, oil prices rose to $75 per barrel following Donald Trump's win in the 2024 U.S. presidential election, sparking fresh uncertainty in global markets. Brent crude oil futures were up 65 cents or 0.87% at $75.57 per barrel by 0400 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate WTI crude gained 54 cents to $72.23. U.S. oil producers are looking forward to less regulations on crude production under a Donald Trump presidency, meaning higher oil supply and consequently lower prices. Trump, who was announced Wednesday as the winner of the 2024 election, has also vowed to put more sanctions on Iranian and Venezuelan barrels, meaning the global markets could become tighter, potentially boosting prices. At the same time, the increased likelihood of trade wars under Trump could dampen global economic growth and slow demand. According to Goldman Sachs Commodities Analysis, the impact of a potential second Trump term on oil prices is ambiguous, with some short-term downside risks to Iran oil supply. They, however, noted medium-term downside risks to oil demand and thus oil prices from downside risks to global GDP from a potential escalation in trade tensions. Trump expressed his enthusiasm for increased U.S. oil production while giving a speech from the Republican campaign headquarters in Florida on Wednesday, just hours before his victory was confirmed. Just as he referred to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the independent candidate who he said would be part of his team. U.S. oil and gas production hit record highs under the Biden administration, which gradually changed its approach to the industry despite campaigning on pledges of environmental stewardship. U.S. President Joe Biden will make an address to the nation Thursday, vowing a peaceful transfer of power to Donald Trump after his political nemesis scored a crushing election win over Kamala Harris. In what promises to be an organizing moment for Biden, he will speak in the Rose Garden of the White House at 11 a.m., that is 1600 GMT, to discuss the election results and the transition to Trump's second term. The 81-year-old dropped out of the race against Trump in July and handed the Democratic nomination to Vice President Harris, but it's now likely to see his legacy dismantled by the Republicans' stunning comeback. Biden is, however, apparently determined to draw a stark contrast with Trump, whose refusal to accept his own 2020 election defeat by Biden culminated in the violent January 6, 2021 assault by Trump supporters on the U.S. Capitol. U.S. Vice President and defeated Democratic candidate Kamala Harris promised the peaceful transfer of power to Donald Trump on Wednesday in a defiant concession speech that urged supporters to keep fighting for their ideas. We must accept the results of this election. I earlier today spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory, Harris said in a speech at her alma mater, Howard University in Washington. Harris told supporters she also told him that they will help him and his team with their transition while engaging in a peaceful transfer of power, without mentioning Trump's refusal to accept his defeat to President Joe Biden in 2020. Harris said that honoring election results was what distinguishes democracy from a monarchy or tyranny. Meanwhile, former President Barack Obama on Wednesday congratulated Donald Trump on his election victory, noting the importance of a peaceful transfer of power. Obama's comments stand in stark contrast with Trump's unprecedented refusal 4 years ago to concede defeat to Joe Biden, culminating with the violent attack by his supporters on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. The ex-president also voiced pride over the efforts of Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz, who were soundly beaten in the election. Obama called them two extraordinary public servants who ran a remarkable campaign. That concludes news updates at this time. For more of our news, programs and documentaries, do want to follow us on our social media platforms and on our YouTube live stream. I am Chiamaka Mwafo. Thank you for joining us at this time.